Greetings everyone, if you're looking for a Thorn Necromancer build on Diablo 4, this is my update for you to farm in Nightmare dungeons at level around 100. For the skill you want to play Iron Maiden in order to increase the damage return but also to get essence and life. You have the Blood Mist for the anti-CC and Raise Skeleton with Golem. Our main base attack will be Decompose, but you can also consider the Bone Splitter if you wish to play around vulnerability. Lastly, Corpse Explosion turn into Shadow damage in order to proc our K ultimate. For the gear you'll want to get Intelligence because it will boost the sound value, so it's important to have it everywhere that you can. And after that try to get sounds and sounds transferred to your minions. For the helm you want the increased number of skeleton, the sounds on the unique armor, and for the gloves the fact that you'll deal increased damage if you stand still. You also want intelligence and inherit your sounds. For the pants make sure to have a base of sounds and if possible intelligence too, and the fact that you will drop blood orbs in order to heal yourself. For the boots intelligence and increased number of skeletal mages. And for the weapon, intelligence and the fact that Decompose can affect several targets. It's not mandatory, but will help you to create corpse if you need it. For the shield you'll have a base of sound and a sound value, plus intelligence and the fact that you'll have damage reduction when you use a basic attack. For the ring you can have a bit of lucky hit, and also physical damage is interesting because the sounds are physical. You can also get the fact that skeleton will deal more damage when they are alive, and this one you can take this unique in order to have a sound based value. It's not mandatory but will give you some sounds. And lastly, for the amulet, increase damage after stacking 10 times your K passive. On it make sure to have sounds and if possible intelligence too. For the gems it's easy, you want to have everywhere a bit of sounds on your armor part and a skull in order to gain some life. For the heart it's a bit more tricky, so make sure to have these 3 exact hearts for the setup to work. The first one, you want to have the triggering of a corpse skill. It's important to understand how it works. If you don't have your maximum skeletons here and here, it will only trigger the raised skeleton, so it will be very convenient. Once you are full of skeletons, if you want to heal them, you'll need to use raised skeleton because the heart will only use the corpse explosion. And only in the case that you lose one of your skeleton, it will go back to raise skeleton. We have another heart which is very important, is this one. It will crazy boost your minions, but you lose essence. That's why we combine with this one, which will help you to gain resources. You'll see in the gameplay that we boost our minion with the essence, but we still have plenty of essence to use for your minions. So in the end, these 3 hearts will be very important to have. Now for the Book of the Dead you want to have increased sounds on your warrior. For the shadow, the fact that you have an additional projectile, make sure to not take the cold because it will slow enemies attack speed and we don't want to do that. And lastly, the bone golem for the increased sounds too. For the skill tree you have Decompose and the increased damage, then you have a chance to create a corpse. It's not very important but we don't use anything else here. Then 1 point in order to be invulnerable, 3 points for the taunts, the increase of the skeletal warriors and the fact that it will become a darkness skill. You also have essence here, increased damage and our curse with the essence and the life. You have increased damage to cursed targets, increased damage of skeletal mages and increased damage to distant enemies. Then you just want 1 point in the fortification. It's important because we'll be able to play the fortify glyph with this passive. You don't need much, you just need to have 1 point of fortification for the glyph to trigger. Then you have the increased attack speed and this passive, so increased life and damage for the golem, increased attack speed especially for yourself, it won't be that much interesting for the minions. Then increased damage, increased healing from the priest and maximum damage possible. Lastly, of course, the K passive, the Shadow Blight. For the Parangon setup, first the glyph of the skeletal warriors and then we have the glyph increasing minions damage. You take the rare nuts and you want to get this glyph which will increase damage and damage reduction. Make sure to get the blue nuts and we'll have this board with the increased damage of skeleton mages. If you want you can first take the golem glyph, anyway we just have it here on this board, so you take the increased damage of the golem, and the legendary node, consuming corpse increased damage. You go to the right and you have this board which will increase your damage while healthy and also increase the value of your potion, and then at the top of it, when we go back this way, we have this glyph which will increase your damage while fortified. That's why we want just a little bit of fortification in order for this glyph to work. I'll let you the gameplay, just make sure to taunt your enemies with your golem when you need it, and to always curse your enemies. If you have some spare time, make sure to use your basic attack to debuff enemies and to create curves. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget that as usual you have the full guide with the builder just below the video, and if you have any question feel free to post in the comments.